Hello YouTubies, this is King Scribe and thank you for watching this YouTube video. Right, so I want to talk about the power behind words. It's not really a topic that many people cover, but you probably all know about it. You see this in the newspapers, in the news, on TV. There's a certain power behind words, and the tabloids take full advantage of this, but they're not really people who have the most efficient use of these words. For instance, the tabloids have to print BS time and time again, over and over and over again, to start convincing the public about something. I want to talk about who really does have the power behind words but doesn't always use it. Right, so during my investigation on this, I've actually looked into two forces on the planet Earth. There's those who try to brainwash the public, who try to push through agendas that are not necessarily good for us, and destroy certain things that are good ethics of humanity. And then there's the polar opposite, the ones who are trying to unravel the damage, who are trying to push back the psychopathic control grid and make society better. So for every force in the universe, there's an equal opposite force. So let's say with brainwashing and smear campaigns, what is the equal opposite force of that? And there is an answer. It's the Jester Spirit. The Jester Spirit is the only thing that can actually do something in our world that would actually change the perceptions of the public. If you're getting smeared, people saying how evil you are, and then suddenly they realise you're quite a funny guy, they actually start questioning that straight away. And if you're coming up with some really good jokes or whatever, I don't mean knock jokes, I mean if you're naturally a funny person, it can have a really positive effect on your social life. People do like people like that, no matter what anybody says about them, because eventually they see other people for what they actually are. But there's a real power behind words. And I think the Jester has it. I think the people with the Jester Spirit, and I'm saying that in a personification kind of way. As some people talk about the Djinn, which is why I call it the spirit. I am of the belief that if there's a Djinn, there must also be the polar opposite of that, which would be the Jester, which would be the good guy who's actually unraveling everything that's bad that's happening. But because there's less of them than the pathological individuals in society, there's less funny people really. The power behind the funny people is even more amplified to make up for, well, it's actually compensation. Let me give you an example. Why is it that it takes newspapers and tabloids pages and pages and weeks, years and years of printing out BS in their papers to brainwash the public, when you can get one comedian who makes one decent joke or bit of satire, and suddenly all that work, all that smear campaign, all that brainwashing is destroyed within an instant, just because the Jester decided it's time to bring that motherfucker down. If the Jester realizes what's going on, he can actually damage this type of cult. And I saw it recently as well in something that I've not really seen before. I always thought it could be done within a single sentence, because that seems to be the most effective, the most efficient use of language. But actually I'm seeing it within a single sentence, not just a single sentence, within a single fucking word. That takes real genius. And I was watching somebody's video who was posted up on Thomas Sheridan's Facebook page, and I followed him onto another video, and I noticed exactly what I've been talking about on Facebook and various sites on the internet about this single sentence that can destroy cults. And suddenly he picked up on it immediately. Somebody said from this feminist cult, who is a male, he mistakenly said a word. So instead of saying feminism, he said vemonism, venom, like that bit that snakes produce, and then with an ism at the end of it. And the Jester in that guy immediately picked up on it and said, "Thank you, David. You just that is absolutely genius. I think I'll use that as my title. And I think you've just produced the word that I can actually bring down this cult." That is the Jester Spirit right there. There's no other spirit out there in the universe that would actually pick up on that that quickly and use it for the advantage of helping humanity and also bringing down a cult, and do it in a single word. There's nothing else in the universe that can do that. But you know, vemonism is actually a good word, because you say that, enough people will actually say, well, yeah, they are a bit, you know, venom. They do have a lot of venom, these people. And you don't really have to explain it. You don't have to write any books. People see it automatically. And as long as you say it in a funny way, you can also make satirized jokes about it. And also even, I don't think stand-up is necessarily the best way of doing it, by the way. I think, you know, something like, you know, where you see a bit of play acting, you know, you see somebody acting a script online or something, which is a bit of comical stuff that is not really, you know, saying, you know, jokes on the stage, but it's actually play acting them out. There's actually a word for that, and I've actually completely forgot it in the video, which is not good. But you guys get what I mean. You use a bit of satire. For instance, there's one place called The Onion online which does that sort of things. Oh, sketches, comedy sketches, where they actually, you know, make a story up and they show a girl who is going to be put down because she's using Facebook too much. That is a sketch, and that sort of thing actually works probably better than the you know, the single spoken sentences and also the jokes. But the jokes can also be good too. If you can destroy a cult within one word, then you're doing really well. And that's really what we should be concentrating on. We should really be you know, using satire and comedy to actually help humanity out a little bit. And I'm seeing that more and more on the internet, by the way. I'm seeing some really good things happening. And I'm also seeing the fact that people are now using comedy in the right way. Don't forget, you can actually use comedy in the wrong way and appear childish. So you've got to be able to, you know, balance it a little bit, because, you know, there's also the problem with the Jester Spirit, that the Jester Spirit is like the devil in a way, the little red devil. And although it's funny, it can appear childish to certain individuals. So you've got to mix it up a little bit and make sure you don't overdo it. Because I'm sure the Jester Spirit has ADHD or whatever they call it, you know, is a bit hyperactive in a way, but has some really good effects on humanity. And it's about balance. A really good comedian will be able to, you know, say all the jokes every single day and appear to be a sensible individual. So, I mean, I have seen on the internet some people who, you know, they wear tinfoil hats or whatever, and they try to act, you know, like the jester, and it comes across as wrong because it takes a lot of practice to actually do. But invoking the Jester Spirit is probably one of the best things you can do to fight cults, because cults can be brought down by a single spoken sentence, and definitely by a good piece of sketch, a comical sketch. That would actually do. Comic book stuff, and, you know, does works, and art seems to work with it. So art seems to work much more effectively than jokes themselves, because you're using creativity, which is the art, and then you're also using the satire behind it, which is just as effective. So you're actually magnifying the Jester Spirit. So if you want to fight the pathological kind, you've got to, you know, start thinking of some clever ways of using satire. And I saw that in this guy. I mean, when he called it, when he immediately spotted the vemonism, he thought that looks like a cool word. I'm not sure if it's ever been used before though. It rings some bells, but you know, maybe we'll spread that word out a little bit. You know, vemonism, it might actually have some positive impact on humanity, because it will spread. It will spread from one person to another. It will definitely do that. If you keep on telling your mates about vemonism, and they tell their mates, and etc., etc. Sooner or later, everybody's talking behind the backs of feminists, and suddenly they're now known as feminism. And that could have a really good effect on what's going on. So thank you for watching, and I just wanted to talk about the the power of words. So I think I've cleared that up a little bit there. So I'll see you later. Goodbye.